guys, it's Jackie here. It's so nice to see you guys again. Thanks for coming along. Today we are doing something a little different from our usual videos. I wanted you guys to meet another family who have packed up their lives, moved across the world and come to Bali to come to the Green School and to enjoy this beautiful island. So we are back. I think you might remember Erin and Oliver, whose beautiful house we went through at the Sauvie Eco Village near the Green School. We are back to have a chat with them and talk about their experience coming to Bali and everything that's come with that. So let's say hi. Hi guys.
Hi Jackie.
Again.
You as well.
Thank you so much for chatting to me. Now, these guys have come from Portland, Oregon, and from what I understand, tell me, small island.
We were actually 10 miles north of the city, but still within city limits on a little agricultural island called Sauvie Island.
Oh. And how many people live there?
There's about 700 full-time residents.
Wow. And the kids went to school there?
There was a school and a church and a couple little farm stands and not much else. Yep.
And then you decide to pick up your lives, as we all do, and come to Bali. Why? How did this happen? How did this happen?
Well, I would say that it was for the girls and to give them a different experience of life. But that would be a lie. It was probably more for me. And I used them as an excuse to get us here.
Had you come to Bali before going, let's pack the suitcases and let's go?
Yeah, we had a friend that had been in Bali for about a year in what would have been 2019, November of 2019, and we had been chatting about different experiences and their experience here in Bali. And at the time we were traveling in Europe and realizing that we did want to make a change in our lives, and traveling abroad was that change we were thinking about. And we were chatting with them over the summer while we were away, and they were here, and they said, hey, you should just come visit. And so I took it as an opportunity to go travel. I didn't think anything of it.
And so you came, or did you all come?
No, Erin stayed home with the girls. They were in school, so I came alone and
for 10 days.
For 10 days, visited the school, went around the area, Ubud, Canggu, the typical areas around the Green School, and didn't necessarily fall in love with Bali, but fell in love with the idea of the Green School and the community, which is central to the Green School. It's a built-in community of like-minded people, and I felt it right away, the energy. And I called Erin and I said, hey, we got to do this. And I knew that she needed a community. She needed something to walk into that was already built to make her feel comfortable.
And for support. We've always lived in the same area, so having support in a big move like this was really important.
You've traveled a lot, but you've never lived anywhere other than Portland, Oregon.
Well, the Northwest. So I am from the Seattle area. I went to college in Portland, 3-hour drive away, and have never lived anywhere else.
That's it, yes, I as well. I'm from Portland. I was born there, lived there until I was 39 years old.
So you ring Erin and you go,
we got to do this.
We gotta go.
Yep.
And you're not unhappy with school for the kids in the United States?
No, actually, to be honest with you, we have a wonderful community. Our families are close.
The school was amazing.
Was a really good school as far as, I have to say, as far as our Western ideas.
Yeah,
like
a
school should be. It's a structured school. It's
with a focus on outdoors, which, on paper, it all looked perfect. Our lives
so you
were
decide on this
perfect.
perfect little world, let's do it. Let's take a leap. It was time for a change.
He called and said, apply for the school.
And you were already in Bali, and you ring her and say, apply to green school.
Well, I knew at the time,
need to go.
pre-COVID, it was difficult to get into the school.
Yeah.
And so we had no idea if there was 2 spots. And so, you know, on a whim, we'll apply, see what happens. And we applied, and a couple weeks later, we received news that our kids were in. So this was December of 2020, and is that right? No, December of 2019, and they were telling us that we could start January of 2020, which was more or less weeks after I had visited.
Wow.
And so at that time, we said that's too quick. It was too much to arrange, you know. I had a job.
We had
a house.
to situate.
We had visas to situate, and so we postponed it until the following August. And we all know what happened.
Did you ever kick yourself for that decision, or were you just like, everything happens for a reason?
Everything happens for a reason.
Happens for a
but
reason.
at the time, we went from pre-COVID to post-COVID, and our trip getting canceled, and everything's sort of turning upside down.
So you had booked your flights, August, your visas were ready.
Sold our house.
You'd sold the house.
Sold the house.
You were ready to get on a flight to start school for August.
Yep.
And then when did it all go pear-shaped? When did you just think, we are not going to get there?
In the middle of June, when we got the message that our plane flights had been canceled, we realized this was just not going to happen for us.
Okay, so how did this work? Were you able to stay in the house? Did you go live with family?
No, we had already sold the house, and about that time, that's my job. I'm in real estate, and so another house came on the market, and we had no idea what was going to happen, so we basically moved down the street.
Wow. And so how did the girls feel? Because I think that's so hard for kids also to be like, we're going to Bali, we're going to Bali, we're going to this cool school, we're doing this, and then, no, we're not.
You know, they're interesting kids, I would say, in the sense that I don't see them, and maybe they hold a lot in, and we don't see it, but they're super flexible. And
so they were like, okay.
I think maybe living with a father like me, who has an idea one day and it changes the next, I think they're just like, what's going to happen? We don't know, and we are just going to go with it. And
I also will say that COVID really helped them to bend and flex like I never anticipated they'd be able to. And with all of those changes and being out of school for nearly a year, they...
so at this point, they were homeschooling. You guys were really
We'd already
teaching them.
pulled out of the school at home, which is hard to get into. And so I started homeschooling them.
Knowing that we were going to
point.
eventually come to Bali, or so we thought.
Yeah, so you always still thought, you were never like, I know it crossed my mind when I was in New Zealand, like, am I actually going to get there? Or is this just going to have to be...
We knew eventually we would get here. We just had no idea what the timeline was going to be.
Okay. And then you really got this open door come December? Is it?
Yeah, we had to make a decision if we were going to not register, but tell the school that we were going to defer, and then come in January. And at that point, we still didn't know. I mean, we had flights, but they were being canceled all over the place. And there seemed to be a window of time where things opened up. And our flight was scheduled for that window, and everything just worked.
Somehow the visas came together. It was a lot of work to get here. I will say it was.
Yes.
Do you like literally until you were sitting on that plane? Did you even the day before? Were you like, this might not?
This
happen?
might not happen. The whole process, I thought we might get there, we might not. Who knows when and what?
Yeah, and I think with so much fear in the world, even being on that plane, we didn't know if it was going to get to its destination, or once we got there, were they going to turn us around. But in reality, the plane flight and getting here was quite simple, and it wasn't stressful, and it was actually pretty relaxing.
It was. And we hadn't been out of our houses too much for the year before coming here.
I think for most people, getting on a plane right now, and you know, in the last 6 months when we did it, was very, very scary. But in reality, it wasn't half bad. And maybe that was because there was only 10 people on our plane.
Same with mine. I think there was less coming from New Zealand.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And then you get here, and you had pre-purchased 2 houses, hadn't you, in Sibang Eco Village? And when had you purchased those houses?
So we bought one in July of last year, and then one a couple months later, so let's say September. And
so you always knew we're getting here, we just don't know when it was going to be. And I think you expected to get off the plane and come straight to your beautiful home.
yes, we did.
That was very ambitious.
Yes, we were told that it would be ready for us.
Yeah.
And as most things, you'll realize in Bali, what you are told is not always.
Island time.
Yeah.
It's completely island time. We also
Fiji, Samoa.
we also didn't anticipate that when we got off the plane we would be quarantining in Jakarta first and then quarantining in Bali second. So that was all.
But that was a really nice, period of relaxation. You have this stressful getting here phase. School doesn't start for a couple weeks. We had a nice place to stay on the beach. It wasn't half bad.
So when did you find out that you couldn't move in here? It wasn't going to be ready. Did you know before
During
landing?
our quarantine time in Bali
Wow.
is when we started looking for an Airbnb for a couple weeks to get us to when this would be ready.
Okay, and then really, these guys have been in the house 3 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
Oh yeah, 3 weeks now.
3 weeks now.
Yeah.
And you just found somewhere. You Airbnb'd and did you keep extending?
We
You
just kept
were
extending
we
and-
have to keep extending. We can't move in. We can't be in the village. And during rainy season when you're in construction zone,
That was
very
one
hard
thing.
because it's mud.
That was one thing we didn't realize is that rainy season is really intense here and really slows things down as far
Yeah.
as building and getting any landscaping going and all of it.
And so during that time, the kids start school. How did they adapt straight into school, not in their own home, not in...
I would say that we are very, very lucky. They enjoyed school from day one.
Audra feels like she's won the lottery coming here and being in school here. She can't imagine anything better than this for a school situation.
Do you think that's because she was homeschooled for that year, or do you just think in general, even if she'd come straight from her school to here, she just would have been like,
I
this
think
is
that
amazing.
specifically for Audra, when I came here in November of 2019 and I got to, spend time in the school, I knew right away that this was meant for her. It just fit her creative, energetic mind. And it was just, it seemed like...
And what
good
about
fit.
Hetty? Because she's quite a different kid, right?
She's a totally
She's
different kid.
But very
And she-
adaptable.
Very adaptable, loves the outdoors, but much more linear in her thinking and her learning styles. And she took a little while to adapt to the change in learning style, and at first thought, I'm not learning anything, and I'm kind of frustrated with that. And she has very quickly changed that mindset of hers and is equally loving her experience at the school.
And it's been an incredible opportunity for her to challenge herself to ask for more. If school's too easy, let's say, for example, it's not my responsibility as her parent to guide her through life. It's my responsibility to teach her to ask for more if that's what she needs.
Yeah.
And she's
and
done
she
an
feels she's
incredible
getting
job.
that at the Green School to be able to say, hey, this isn't working.
It's pushing her to really find her voice and speak up for herself. The kids have grown in the last 3 months since being here. The kids have grown in ways that I never anticipated, and that has been amazing to watch.
And is that their confidence, or is that the main one? Just they're far more confident
Their
and they're far more
confidence.
able to have adult conversations, or...
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things. Their confidence, they're pushing themselves in ways that are uncomfortable for them, in doing new things, in leaning into situations that would otherwise be hard or scary. They have just jumped right in and are challenging themselves in ways that are incredible to watch.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, I guess you've got you two. And sometimes I think it's easier for our kids and harder for us because, you know, they get this instant community. They go at school, they've got this green school, they've got that. And then what about you both, I guess? How was that, especially not coming straight into your home, not coming into your environment, how was that first, say, 12 weeks for both of you? And what were the stresses and what were the amazing, like, eye-opening things? And especially for you, I guess, Erin, because you came in to this, never had been to Bali, which I say to anyone, before I came to Bali, I had been here 6 times. So I really knew Bali, and I knew even from knowing Bali that there would be challenges. I thought, I love so much about Bali, and I was like, but I needed to live in it anywhere in the world is so different from visiting, and you have to be able to live there and go, is this actually for me? Like, can I actually cope with these challenges? Because they can be frustrating.
Yeah.
So how was you, who was like, I've never been to Bali, I don't even know, did you have any idea outside of, I guess, what Oliver had taught you? Had you Googled and gone, okay, this is what it looks like, okay, this is what the streets are like, this is what the roads are like, because it's not highways, it's not America, and it's not anywhere that I've been.
Yeah, no, I had no idea what I was coming into, other than I knew there were bugs, which I was scared about.
Very important.
And the bugs that I was scared about have been the least of my concerns. I admittedly had a very hard time transitioning in the beginning. Culture shock. I think a lot of it was the challenge of just going from being pretty isolated to then being around people all of a sudden. That was a big transition. I had a couple panic attacks in the beginning that were unexpected and triggered by silly things, but
Silly things like somebody hacking your bank card and
silly things like
and then having to figure out how to get a new bank card into a foreign country.
Yeah, that's not easy if that ever happens.
Yeah, you've had that experience
it's
too.
not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to get things sorted like that.
Transitioning to having a driver drive for you because you're too scared to do your own driving and drive on the other side of the road with all the dogs and the cars and the scooters and the people and the obstacles.
In skinny roads.
And very small roads. Yeah, all of it was really hard. And the community that I found quickly was a huge support for me. And I found the most like-minded people so quickly that was a real turning point for me. And I found them in the school. And really the spirituality that the Balinese have and their way of life and their calming sense, it permeates everything around you, and to be able to feel that and step into that. So, I mean, there's no stress. As stressful as things are with the driving and the people and the humidity and everything, the pace here and the people here are just so calming that if you can lean into that, it really helps to, I don't know, to be in that space.
Yeah.
When I'd say if you can't lean into it, which I'm not always the best at leaning into those things. I have my ideas. I like to bring them with me wherever I go. And it's like a river, and if you swim against the rapids, you're going to drown. And I find myself drowning some days.
Yeah, and I think people say Bali will spit you out if you don't learn to kind of go with that flow and just be like, okay, it's okay.
And I can't blame anybody but myself. Somebody, told me something that's really hard to explain, but everything is your fault. Like, if I get spit out, it's because of things I did or things I couldn't let go of. And I really do feel like the days that things work are those days that I can just relinquish that control and learn to, instead of getting a list of 10 or 20 things done, getting one thing done is an accomplishment here. And it does seem, probably the idea seems wild to everybody on the outside, but just getting groceries into your fridge is a day's activity.
Yeah.
So when people ask us what do we do all day, well, that's what we do, we live. And coming to a new place, a new environment where things are very different than where we came from, there's a huge adjustment. There's a huge learning curve. And I think it'll probably take a good year before we think we have things under control. And then Bali will do what Bali does and change it on us.
Of course.
And I will say that I have had the highest highs in living here, and I've also had the lowest lows. And so I think that the one thing I've realized is that I feel so alive here in a way that I have never felt.
Is it because of what you're doing and what you're involved in, or is it just a sense in your mind? Is it just?
I think
What
it's
is
just
it?
Bali.
Yeah.
I think it's just Bali. I mean, I don't really know a way to explain it other than everything is alive here, and we are all living in nature, and the energy here you can feel the energy in a way that I've never felt before.
So guys, we're gonna just leave the interview. We're gonna do a part 1 and a part 2, just so you don't start drooping. And then next week we'll come back and we'll keep out continuing chatting to Erin and Oliver, and we'll finish off the chat, and you can find out all the information that you need to know for your upcoming journey to Bali, your move. We'll see you for part 2.